go too much on the transactions and all that because they already doing it.
Yeah, right. So may I know in which area also you're working right at the moment? Because I understand the role of Nadisha and Srikant currently as a business process users, right? So there are modules like AP, AR, GL. So in which area are they working at the moment?
Yeah, Nadisha is more into controlling part, the
Oh,
product costing,
oh,
order management and all that. That mainly the operation finance or controlling part, Nadisha, but Karth is more into finance. But Nadisha also have enough experience in the APAR, GL and all that. But
okay.
Karth is not, Srikanth is not very much onto controlling side.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, I think we are covering both finance as well
Yeah.
as controlling. And yes, as you correctly mentioned, right, because we are aiming to be a consultant near future. So I will keep on the configuration area and how it impacts your transactions. That will also show it so that when they go through those transactions, they know that why what is happening, right? Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Chandimal. Nadisha, Srikanti, welcome to the training. How about you? We also see few more participants. So Siva, Vishta, and Tabish. You want to introduce yourselves?
Yes, Benita, Tabish, you are, can you able to hear me, Tabish?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, yeah. Please go ahead, Tabish.
Yeah, I am chartered accountant and working in a textile company.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, we are using Oracle. So I want to learn something about SAP to be more competitive and uh, for better opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Tabish. Yeah, so good to know that. So you're using Oracle Fusion at the moment,
Yes.
or okay, okay, got it. Yeah, actually, this is also used in industries, and I think previously SAP was also using Oracle database, but in the HANA, right, they have moved from Oracle database into HANA database. And yeah, there are advantages as well as pros and cons for both ERP systems. Maybe if there be time, I will also take you through what are the key differences in the approaches also later on.
Okay. Yeah, Benita, you there, Benita?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Please go with your introduction. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good morning. My name is Benita, and I am a postgraduate in commerce, and I am semi-qualified cost accountant. Actually, there is a gap in my resume for almost 7 years, and I want to restart my career. So I wanted to join this course.
Okay, welcome to the course, Vinita. Yeah, I think coming back to the topic that you have selected, I think SAP Finance is something which is used by all organizations, right, irrespective of which industry you are in. And since you have a commerce background, right, I think it will be easier for you to understand the transactions, and also when you go through the config, it will make more sense. So I think it's a good selection on the course. Yeah, thanks for joining. So Shiva Vishnu, right?
Hi, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Good morning, sir. My name is Shiva Vishnu.
Mhm. And your interest and background, why you wanted to take this course?
Yeah, I'm recently commerce become graduated, so I'm always interested to come for a SAP course. So that's why I'm interested to come this course.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I think you also have then a finance that will be good, so you'll be able to grasp it quite quickly. So welcome to the course. And how about
Okay.
Madhava? Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah, Madhav is also part of our team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, part of our team, and he's very new to finance basically.
Oh, okay.
Right. So anyway, that our team members will support him with the finance point of view and the other transactions.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
he's kind of a data analyst kind of thing, some IT from IT background.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
a very good thing. So we have a good mix of profiles, right, in the training. So I think we have few of the users who have background in both SAP Finance and Controlling, but they want to know about how to do the configuration and how to contribute as a consultant and configure the various scenarios. We have few of them who are kind of doing the graduation, right, and they want to also enter into this technology landscape, right, and SAP's like it's SAP Finance they want to learn. So we have Tabish who is currently using Oracle Fusion for the finance. So I think it's also good to get both sides of the coin and also learn the other ERP, so we are not dependent on one technology. And yeah, so I think thanks everyone for your time and for joining this particular demo session for this training, which will be scheduled subsequently. Yeah, so I think we will be going today, right? I will go through the demo slide, right, which we have from ExpertSoft, right, and then I will also kind of show you about the basic login characteristics like the SAP login and in S4HANA, right? We have PC, Fiori logins and also like what are the key things that we need to look out for when we are configuring our SAP GUI client that I will go through with all of you, right? Okay, so let me go to the presentation mode so that all of you can see. So the module that we will be studying is the financials in S4HANA, and and these are like whatever you see these numbers, right, which have been mentioned. So these are the book, like when we enroll for any SAP training, right, so they give certain book codes, right? So S4F00 and S4F01 or 20 for the business process. So we will be covering mainly two books, S4F00 and S4F01, and these are also different submodules that we have. Our objective will be to become a SAP certified application associate, right? So and with the version 20. So that is our end goal. Yeah, that is our end goal that we are aiming for. So so we will study all these modules and submodules in the SAP Finance, and then first we will focus on the Financial Accounting Associate certification, and we have a Management Accounting Associate certification for the same version, right? So as you already know, right, now SAP is one of the most prominent ERP that has been prevalent in the industry, and it is not only popular with some industry but across industries, like be it banking and finance or manufacturing or the service sector or high technology or maybe here. In all the cases, I think it is very popular, and there are certain reasons for that also. So the adoption of technology in SAP is very fast, right? And you will when you see the news, right, you will come to know it has tied up with Apple for the app development, and also it has bought in their various products, very similar to Oracle also, where Oracle has been constantly expanding, right? So kind of acquire different software like companies like JD Adverse, PPL Soft, all those, right? So I think apart from that, right, recently there has been a lot of investment by SAP, right, on the IoT as well as like machine learning and AI related stuff. Also, like let's say we talk about OCRs, the kind of predictive analytics, all those things also has been kind of they have made certain progresses on those topics in its all software packages, right? So kind of so just to give a crux of it is SAP is the leading ERP software. What is ERP and all those things we will come through also, and also the adoption of the advancement in the technologies has been done very quickly by SAP, and there are new tools also which supports the business process automation or review with like SAP Signavio and all, which has been introduced by SAP as well. So I think one of the main reasons you will see recently, right, whenever we look into the projects which are being done in the world of SAP, right, there are few patterns that we see. One is movement from ECC to S4HANA is one, right? Movement from on-premises to S4HANA Rise, it's another one, right? And there are different reasons for that. For each of these types, why we are doing and when we are doing, these are also very important, right? So, yeah, first of all, we want to make so I think one of the main reasons, right, why we are moving to the S4 HANA, right? One reason will be right. It is a very kind of integrated modular structure, and uh, and the processing is quite fast and quite robust, right? So that is one of the key factors. The next is the scalability, because any business you go through, right, you to know how scalable is this, right? Whether maybe, right, let's say I give you one example. Let's say we have subscribed to 9 terabytes of data. Now we are expanding geographically, and maybe different lines of business are being introduced, right? So let's say you oversee that it might increase drastically over the next few years. So how you can scale this, right? So you can shift from on-premises to cloud, right? So where your growth can be suitably managed by incremental in the storage as well as the memory. So how do you do that? That can be that can be done. So that is the reason for all those companies which are on the cloud, right? Whether it be public cloud, private cloud, or RISE managed by SAP, all these things are different topics altogether. So we will, yeah, I would like to give some background later on, but only if time permits, right? Then I think SAP works on like in memory database, right? And we have optimized cache, which means, right, for example, all those you might have all seen kind of different sports and different telecasts, right? For example, the Cricket World Cup, or maybe some those there are different statistics which were flashed on the screen and which could be taken through, right? So I think that using the SAP analytics at the back end, right? And the processing time, right? So they have a lot of embedded analytics which are being used in SAP, which uses the cache memory and also displays like the figures which matters on the go, right? So when we use the Fiori, we will try to see how those are being done in SAP also. Yeah, and movement to the cloud, again, yeah, it's a big thing. So there are different aspects of it, and there are different considerations for each company to do this also. So yeah, we will try to cover a little bit of this so that when you go for your like serve your clients, at least you know the basic background on each of, right? So yeah, so this is kind of a diagram which tells us what are the trade-offs and how the companies choose between the different software and all these things, right? So, before going into much details around it, right, I also wanted to start kind of maybe mention how SAP has evolved over the time. Previously, right, we were using the older versions like SAP R1, then R2, and then R3, right? So these are different product names which was given. R3 means like it's a three-tier architecture. So we have application server, presentation server, database, right? how do we how do you decode these terms, right? Let's say we try to analyze your computer, right? So in your computer you have some kind of applications, let's say Microsoft Word, which is installed, right? And then you will store all your Microsoft Word document, C drive or D drive, so that's a database. and the screen on which you work, right? So you can either use your tablet where you have, or you can use your laptop, right? So where you display or work with the applications that you have installed, right? So that serves as a presentation server, like maybe there's a presentation layer. Then your application is your Microsoft Word, and stores all the Microsoft Word documents. So this is like a small analogy that I tried to build up, right, when I talk about the SAP R3. After the SAP R3, right, the problem that SAP had was like it was kind of because the main thing that business wants is they do not want to invest on multiple software like if they try to code vendors, right, to purchase the same things, it becomes a bit difficult to manage everything, right? So what SAP used to do is they used to kind of connect the different components, right, and then it rolled out the version of SAP ECC, right? So they have a core module and add-ons which could be easily added into the SAP, right? So it was a control component which was introduced, right? So that means it used to integrate with more and more companies and more software providers, right, in the ECC phase. Then afterwards, right, SAP realized that it has been like its software is very much dependent on database, which was Oracle in the past, right? So it moved away from Oracle and it introduced its own database, which is known as the SAP HANA database. But obviously, like won't subscribe to the new database until and unless it has a few advantages, right? So SAP HANA database, right? It came up with a promise that it will be it will move out the redundancy in the data structure. It will also have the in-memory database so that the fetching of the reports are much faster. That's why the adoption rate of this S4HANA finance using the HANA database has been quite fast. And more companies are like who are looking at the embedded analytics uh, and also they need to churn out the reports faster during the month end or the year end, right? They are looking into the S4HANA finance as a probable solution. And again, right, each software comes with the version upgrades and everything, and there are reasons for that also. So, for example, one of the reasons I told you before was it onto different components with the other application providers are also offering. For example, SAP tied up with OpenText, right, for the invoice capture and as well as the workflows for the vendor invoice management, right? So those were something. Then it also tied up with SAP Ariba for the procurement management, for the billing and revenue. It tied up with Hybris and SAP Concur for the employee expenses and reimbursement, right? So you can see that, you can see that is first moving to cloud and on-premise. This was the initial offering. Then it tied up with different products over here. Then it expanded its portfolio, and now it is like this is even a smaller one in the 2023, like the integrations and the tie-offs which they have, right? It is quite big. So what SAP used to do is every like generally there are budgeting meetings and they try to figure out, right, what are the new adoptions or new advancement which they have to embrace. And you would have realized it initially the rollouts were done in the month of October or the month of November, right? From the year 2017, right? It used to do this upgrade every September. So that's why you see it's 1709, then 1809, then 1909. And then again, it removes the time period over here. So then it became 2020, 2021. Then now it's a 2023 which we are in, right? So it is rolling out by year. For 2024, they have not rolled out yet. So the latest version of SAP is at the moment 2023 that we are using. Okay. Any questions till now? This part. No, right? Okay, so the few areas, right, where we have focused is, right. First of all, they are pushing everybody to go on to the RISE, which is the like SAP. Like for example, it's just like we have bought a huge infrastructure. So SAP has tied up with the cloud providers like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, everybody, right? Data space, right? So now what they're telling is customers, you can onboard the data space that we have bought. We will be securing that for you. The only thing is there won't be any risk for you to manage any database failures or something, because we will be having kind of a very secure like there will be kind different protocols and the conditions which will be maintained by SAP, and you will be operating in a very secure environment, and they will be using all this scalers, right? Hyperscalers means like these are tools which are used to scale at your own pace, and there is no limit to this, right? So like AWS and Microsoft Azure, they are very well-known cloud service providers. So they're tapping onto their technology and buying their storage space and leasing out to the customer. So that is all about the SAP RISE. So that's why you can see there are deployment options with SAP, like either it can be on-premises or cloud, right? Then it also, I think, it's promoting web-based user experience. That means you will be seeing most of the users who are using S4HANA, they will be on Fiori tiles. So it's previously we were all users as well as the consultants, right? We were all on the SAP GUI, but moving forward, they are promoting the use of the Fiori tiles more and more, because there are more advantages take through, and they are trying to um, reduce the interaction of the users with unnecessary things, right, which do not matter to them. For example, trying to limit whenever they click on a Fiori tile, right? The number of interaction is limited to 3 clicks. So that is something they call this as a footprint reduction, right? And then how the tiles are created, how those are configured. So this also is very flexible, so which can be easily done and worked out, right? And it does not kind of cover your or like the accounting department or the journal entry or maybe accounts payable AR. Like each and every department in your organization will be using your this S4HANA finance, right? And for example, right, as we see here, even for access management and having different tools, integrations with SailPoint, GRC governance, all these things are there. Then you have single sign-on, the access monitoring, data loss and data protection, and all those things are also here. Then different kind of risk compliance measures are also embedded into SAP, right? And then you have the standard modules also intended for a use by wider population in your organization. So if we try to see now, right, like any of your organizational members or the verticals, right, will be using this S4 HANA Finance for different reasons at the moment. So it has been a very popular kind of tool across your organization. But how they allocate the user licenses, that has also changed, right? For example, for the finance users, they call it as full user equivalent, like as one license. So the finance users use 0.75 of the full user equivalent. Then only the inventory users, like those using code and SD, they will be consuming 0.5. And there are different rules how they allocate it. So the business can also save on the cost when they decide which are the users they need to buy and how many. So now in this, right, so these are different sales pitch which SAP generally has whenever they try to sell a new product. It's same across different organizations also. So for example, they promise that they provide and planning analysis, which is true, because I think they have different forecasting tools as well as different analytic tools which they have brought in through this S4 HANA, right? For the month end closing, SAP had the schedule manager earlier, then they upgraded to the closing cockpit, right? And rolling out different versions of this closing cockpit also, but there are still challenges, and it is not optimized yet, I would say. But yes, some processes are closing faster than it was earlier, right? And yeah, in the TRM module, right, they have this forecasting one flow tool which has also been introduced. So those are also kind of where they are having a positive impact. And same way for your collection management and all those module has been also enhanced quite a fair bit in the newer versions. So I think that impacts positively your financial operations as well as treasury, right? These two. And yeah, as more and more I think security compliance and data compliance, these are coming up very as very strong pillars in any organization. So I think the governance model has also kind of expanded in the newer versions of SAP S4HANA. But we will not go deeper into that. We will stick to our topic of discussion, which is S4HANA finance. Okay. Everybody is kind of this is a known fact for everybody that they are in SAP S4 HANA. We are talking about the universal journal table. One of the main reason which I tries to reduce your redundancy. So keeping multiple tables for the same purpose and slowing down the speed does not make sense. So that's the reason I think they had introduced the universal journal table, and it has different kind of so that means wherever you are seeing controlling data, or you are seeing in the controlling there is a planning, budgeting, and actuals, right? And then even in your finance, right, whether a sub ledger data or general ledger data, right, all those comes in your universal journal table. So the reconciliation between the different sub modules kind of is reduced, and it's kind of it's much simpler in the SAP S4 HANA finance environment. And at the same time, right, the volume of the table definitely becomes bigger and bigger because you are storing multiple data at one place. But again, there are ways how you can kind of optimize the memory usage, and also how to only ensure that whatever data is not required, you can either put a concept of data aging on them, or you can do archival of the data. I will also touch upon that, right? Maybe just a part of the training content, so that at least because this is one of the primary issues that every business is facing at the moment using SAP, right? Once they move on to this SCDOCA, how do they manage the memory and the database usage, right? I will touch upon that in the course of my. Okay, so now I think I have talked about the different options like on-premise and the cloud. So here it is. You can see, so you can have on-premise system, right? And then you can have your S4 HANA on cloud. It can be a public cloud, which means you have SAP rolls out with the latest version. You have to adopt that, and you will follow always the standard business process, so there will be no deviations which will be there in your implementation of this S4HANA finance, right? And you will be mostly using this as a software as an application. So here it is not the software at service, right? Because you are using the public version of the SAP software, right? And yeah, but in the single tenant, right, what we are doing is like you have a dedicated space, like not only you have the login and the credential which is protecting this, but your cloud is owned only by you, and you need not kind of go upgrades at this frequently like the SAP public one. But yes, so it is flexible, but at the same time SAP also, like, it is not that say we can still be on 1809 version of the SAP, which is much older, right? So SAP also has its life cycle. So because like let's imagine you support a 5-year-old product, right? So there will be some problems which you have already rectified in the newer versions, right? So SAP won't spend much time on the older versions because all those has been already rectified in the newer version. So every 5 years they encourage the client to upgrade their SAP versions to the latest one, and they also give kind of a 2 years timeline in case the adoption rate is a bit slower. But you will realize previously those upgrade projects, right, that used to last for approximately 6 to 8 months, but now with SAP S4HANA, right, it is typically 3 to 4 months upgrade that we are looking at, right? And then I think you have kind of my SAP like S4HANA in yeah, like which is quite I would say the most this is the Rise platform which I was telling that SAP has bought the place in the cloud and then to use. So in the database or the hyperscalers will be managed by SAP, right? So this is the different cloud deployment options which are there, right? So again, so this is not for S4 HANA, but it gives you a better understanding of how the different products which SAP sells. The one that we are using, right, and we for our training, it's kind of on premises in the 20 using the 2023 version. So I had talked about the Fiori. So yes, which is a web-based application. It's just like any app in your mobile, right? So for example, let's say you want to view your bank statement. What do? You log in through your the e-statements and download it, right? Same with Fiori also provides like a step-by-step, but it limits the user interaction to 3 clicks. So it is a rule-based, it is adaptive, right? And it is very simple to use, and also it is quite integrated and coherent. And at the same time, since the user is having minimum interaction, so they have less things to bother about, it offers a better user experience with this Fiori. Okay, so again, the things that we will be studying in our course is mostly the transactional, where my course is not about the embedded analytics and the fact sheets which are there. But if for some of the transactions, I will show you the analytic abilities that Fiori already offers you, so that you need not execute the report, but at one glance you can see it through in this graphical manner, and it will be much easier for business to comprehend their output, right? Yeah, so this is just a quick visual of the Fiori launchpad. So you can see these are all the analytic numbers which has come up, right? How many nodes, what is the percentage between the actual and the target, whether it is 100 target or over target. So all those things can be there in the embedded analytics, right? Okay, so now what we will do is I will kind of guide you through our SAP. So you can see previously when we were using the ECC, right, we were always logging in through the front end SAP GUI. Now you have the option to also use the business client, right? What does this business client mean? It's very similar to your SAP GUI only. So you can see all these connections appearing over here, right? For example, these are all your connections. But the good thing about this is, right, you can also like if there is if it's on cloud, right, so you can there is option where you can navigate directly to the web link or the public domain link, right, from this NWVC to access the cloud environment. So here, as I told you, we are using on premises S4 HANA. So we have so this is the domain name that we are using for our purpose. I think everybody will receive the have the SAP login also, right, Naveen? So everybody will be getting a SAP login from Experts Hub. Is this correct? All the students, or they will be using their own? Yeah, we will clarify that with the Experts Hub team also later on, how the access will be provided. So this is about your SAP 2023 version. You can see we are using 2023 version of SAP. And we will be using this to login. So where you can check the version and everything. Oh, it's already there. Yeah, I have opened this through a GUI. So as I told, we can open it either via GUI or we can open it through the WBC. So you can go to your status here and see the application version. So what you are doing is, this is your SAP Easy Access template. Let me close this. This the first screen that you see over here is your SAP Easy Access, right? Why you see favorites? Because those users who are kind of using some T codes on a regular basis, they try to add this as a favorite. We have not gone to the SAP Fiori launchpad, so we are just using the SAP GUI for our accessing this system. What I did was, if I want to see which version are we in, so you can go to status, right? So under the status, right, you will be able to see the product version here. So here you can see there are different kind of products there, and the one which I wanted to show is S4HANA Finance. Yeah. Should be there. There is also, there should be something like a S4HANA Finance also here. No problem, I think. Yeah, so what you're mentioning is you have, okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, so you can see it is a 2023 version which has been installed, this one. And you also have the Fiori access as well as the ABAP platform which has been enabled, right? And there are service packs. Service pack means, like, for example, 23, right? You will have service pack 1, service pack 2, and all those things, right? So those will be there. And apart from that, apart from the basic production product version, there can be additional components. Like, for example, if you are in the IS oil, or you are, if you can here use IS healthcare, all those things can be also enabled. So yeah, quite a good product that is like we are using for our training. So it's yeah, thanks to the experts of team for providing this, right? So yeah, so I think since it's our demo class, right, I won't go very deep into the all the training contents and all, because it will break the continuity also of this. So once we start on the classes, right, maybe I will come up with a plan about what are the topics that we will cover in which days, so that you know what you can expect in each class, right? Okay. One thing which I was telling, I will also let you go through all this exercises, because I think it's important that when we learn this, right, at least we try this also at our end. So I will go through these exercises with you so that you can try out this in your access. And then if you have faced any problems, you can definitely bring it to me, right, in the next class, right? So the pattern, we will have weekdays class, I guess. So over the weekdays, let's say 4 days in a week, we do the class, and then you do the exercises over the weekend, and then come back with your queries. You can send me an email or share that with experts of, then I can address your queries in the next week classes. Okay, that's all then I had to show to you in the first demo session. Yeah, so any questions, any suggestions for me? How, what are, maybe if something you are not expecting or it can be improved in this session, let me know. Yeah, I think we will be starting somewhere in September. Is that right, Naveen?
If everyone is fine, we'll start from Monday or Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I am traveling and I will be back on the 2nd September. So is it okay if we
Okay,
try?
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Fine, fine, fine. No problem. We'll start. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, thanks everyone for your time, and thanks Naveen and the experts of team for
Sure,
this.
sure. Any other queries from anyone? Shandimal, Tabish, Nandisha. Is there anyone? Can anyone respond, please?
Yes, I am here. Currently, I don't have any query.
Okay, okay, fine, fine, great then. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks everyone for your time.
Thanks, you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. So my name is Jeet. So I think you were. Did you attend the demo class also, which I think a few weeks? Where,
Yes.
oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So I won't introduction then one second. So our topic, right, for this 40 hours of lessons that we will be going through, right, will be focusing on these two main modules, which are financial accounting and controlling, right? And as I have told earlier, also, right, my objective is for all of you. First, we need to get the first certification, which is in the FI. So that will be our first steps to prepare you well for the FI certification, and also CO also, because I think for the CO certification, it's better to have a little bit of experience and then appear for that CO certification. So once you have a bit of more FI experience, and then I think it's recommended for certification. Okay. So, but for that also, I will be training you through during this course of session, and also we will be going through the SAP standard training content also, and also we will be doing the workbooks which are kind of provided by SAP also. So those workbooks also we will run through so that will help you get familiar with the type of setup, or you can also design your own scenarios when we go through the course of the training, right? So I think I had sent a little bit brief about what is the agenda that we are planning to cover, right, in the first week. So you, right, we will be doing the training every on the weekdays. So Monday to Thursday we'll be doing the training, right? And on the first 2 days, right, I will guide you through different things in the organization structure. So I have mentioned the critical ones for F. Where I will go through all these terms in details. What does company code mean? What? How do we use it and everything, right? And so the first 2 days we will cover this organization structure, right? Then what we'll do is we will go through the variant principle, and then how this different variants are configured, what is the purpose of each one of them, right? So we will understand in details about each one of them, right? So that will be, I think, this two we will try to cover we will definitely cover in the first week of class. So that will give me the basic kind of fundamentals so that we can proceed to the next step, which is the GL account and the accounting document and everything. Okay. So clear what we are going to cover in this week, right? So we will be going through the organization structure. So any idea what is a company code for from your end, right? Do you know how do you use this company code? So it is referred by this term, or sometimes we also the entity, or maybe a functional unit also it is called, right? So company code is nothing but basically it's the independent legal entity for which you prepare all your financial statements, correct? Right, so you need to prepare the reports for the right. Let's say you prepare your balance sheet, you prepare your profit and loss statement, then cash flow statements, all those things, right? You will prepare for what? You will prepare for the company code. So it is very important. It represents an independent legal accounting entity. So let's say I give you one example. You tell me which one is the company code. Okay. So well, let's have okay. So maybe you're talking about pharmaceutical business, right? So I will try to cover different types of business scenarios. A pharmaceutical business is there, let's say, which is manufacturing maybe tablets and maybe some kind of ingredient which is required for those tablets, right? So they call it active powder ingredient, for example, right? So they have two plants. One is manufacturing tablets, and one is manufacturing that active powder ingredient. And when it is preparing its function, financial statements, right? So it is kind of uh, let's say it's set up in a country Singapore, right? And it has one office in Singapore, right? And where under that it has this two kind of locations where it does this tablet manufacturing and this active powder ingredient manufacturing. So can you let me know how many company codes that we create, one or two? Is there any basic question that we need to ask for that? So first we'll ask is, okay, so we talked about two maybe plants, right, or location, like where they do some manufacturing, let's say manufacturing tablets or any other things, right? So but how do they present their financial statements? Do they roll up under the same maybe entity number, or maybe the entity company registration number, right? So that will represent its independent legal accounting entity. So that means, so the company can have two different plans, but based on like prepares its financial statement, based on that company code will be created. Now, whenever you create your company code, what comes to your mind? Tell me.
Whether it's a separate legal entity.
Very good. So first is company code. It's a separate entity. So maybe I write it independent legal entity. And you prepare financial statement, right? So in order to prepare financial statement, what does anything which comes to your, right? So in which currency, correct? This is important because this whenever you prepare in a financial statement, it will be in terms of money, right? So then you need to define in which currency you are preparing your financial statements, right? For the company, right? Then we call it as, let's say, the currency in which uh, it is set up is known as the local currency. Okay, so these are the terms that we will be coming through, right, in the course of our discussion. So we will call the company code currency as what? Local currency, right? So whenever you prepare your, okay, so what are the types of financial statements that we know? Balance sheet, NL, right? Cash flow, correct? Balance sheet, let's say as of, right? Maybe profit and loss statement for the period, right? And also cash flow, you also call it for the period, right? So that means one thing is coming very important is your currency is very important, and the other thing is in whenever you display in any of your reports, right? The financial period is also important, correct? For which period or for which year you are preparing your report, correct? Any other things that you need to know when you set up any company?
There's something called fiscal year variant, right?
Yes, right. Yeah, correct. So that means financial period, you have come to the correct term, is known as the fiscal year also. In SAP term, we call it as the fiscal year, right? But also there is one more thing that you need to establish, right? Whenever a company is set up, right, it is set up with some regulations, right? So which will be like as per the country regulations, correct? That's why this is also important when you set up a company code. right? So what are the key important information? First of all, it has to be a like if you have listed this as a private listed company, you will have a company registration number. It should be an independent legal entity, right? So for that company code, whenever you draw up any reports, right, it needs to be drawn up in some currency. So that is known as the company code, local currency. So whenever you define a company code, that means define the company code in a specific currency, and also it need to follow some country specific regulations. So how does this regulations fall through? We will discuss in details when we go through the parallel ledgers and the different accounting principles also. But at least we know that the company is set up in some particular country and it needs to follow that country's regulation. So far so good, right? Okay, so so we have the company code, right? But what is this particular client, right? So client is very similar to when you log into your computer, right? You log in. Let's say I just try to draw analogy. So let's say you create usernames, correct? Multiple usernames. So you can also uh, uh, like refer to these clients as kind of you have been allocated a particular number, and under the number you can create multiple profiles. So for example, when we log in through our username, then under that we can create like we can create multiple folders, then we can create shared folders and so on and so forth. So same way, right? So in here also in our SAP terminology also, right, we can allocate the client through your in your login screen. So where do we see it? Let's see that one. So this was our login server. Once you log in, here only we will two very basic concepts. Well, okay, yeah. So this particular client, right? So sometimes what we do is you might have seen, right, in when you're working in SAP as a business user, like you first do the test system and then the changes gets moved to production. So that means there is a particular landscape through which the changes moves, right? So first they call so first comes the server, right? So this what you see is known as the server. So under this server you can have multiple clients, right? So for example, here it is client, but when you see my login, right, the place where I have logged in, this one, how do I see? Yeah, where did I log in? So you can go through here, settings, and you can also status. Oops. Here's the status. So here you can see that what is the client that I have used for login? It's client 500, right? So under the client 500, I have logged in. And if you want to see that which is the version that we are using, right? So that also you can see in here. Okay. So here, if you find SAP application, let's go to SAP application. That's right. Here about here are all the HCM components. Yeah, this is the 108 release. But basically it's the latest version we are using. The 202. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, here you can see that. So these are the different software components which are there, and these are like the base product. So how the SAP is doing is like, let's say you try to buy an additional software component on top of your product. For example, it's just like you have Windows installed your maybe like let's say a Windows, and on have the applications that you use on the base software. So same way, right? It's, you can see it's a on-premise version 2023, and on top of that you had installed different applications, right? You can see for HCM they have installed different applications there, and there are core applications in which patch release versions. All these things are specified. So if you like, let's say they want to know that which client have you logged in, you can just go to where you need to go to your this menu bar. Under your menu bar you can go to system, and under the system status you will be able to see, okay, this is the client, and when you go through the product version you should be able to tell that which version you are using. So it will be under your installed product versions, right? And then after that, if they ask like which are the component which has been activated, you can also see it here. Okay, so that comes through the basic of navigation. So that means when you log in through this particular client, so this so once we log in through this client 500. So under this client 500, right, what you see in our presentation, right, which we mentioned. So let's say here the client is 500, and then there can be multiple company codes. So that means you can have in your system you can have multiple company code which has been set up, right? But each company code, as I have mentioned, needs to have a particular functional currency. Why? Because it will prepare your financial statements as per the currency, and it will be also set up as per the country regulations, and we'll see how the fiscal year gets assigned as well to this company code. Okay, so let's go through this part, the first part of the config then. So how do we access the configuration screen, right? So we call it SPRO, right? So in this SPRO, SAP had already provided the implementation guide. So SAP reference IMG means SAP reference implementation guide, which SAP has provided. So now what do we want to set up? We want to set up the organization structure. So organization structure comes under your this enterprise structure. Okay. So now which modules are we studying? We are studying these two modules, financial accounting and controlling. So we will also study the other a little bit because we need to study the integrations, but our main focus will be on this module. Clear? So now what I will do is I will go through this, right? I can see there is edit, copy, delete, check company code, right? So if you want to define company code, you need to go through this option. But just imagine, right, if you want to go through this option, then you need to navigate through this. There are all these activities which you want to do. Is there any shortcut, right, which you can do? So let's try for that also. So this refers to the implementation guide activity. For example, if you want to go to some transaction code directly, right? So this is some code which FAP had predefined or maybe configured in the system, correct? So you can see how do you read this. So it is the SAP implementation guide. Then there is a finance menu option. Then you have the SAP and the last one, right? The last four characters is your So what will be the transaction code to create a company code? Tell me. Over here. So last,
COXO2.
yes, so it's OX02. Okay,
Okay. All right. Last.
last 4 characters. So you just click here, so it will take you to this particular screen. Okay, so now if I just wanted to go directly right to this particular screen, how will I do? I will go to the first screen. So /in means you are ending the existing session. Okay, so now if you want to go to the create company code, what you can do is, we have just learned what is the transaction code, OX02, right? So we will just enter this transaction code and it takes us to this screen. Okay, now let's do this thing, right? So we have our exercises, standard SAP exercises. So we will run and we will do exactly as per that, or we will also do a little. So here you can see that first of all, we know what is a company code, right? But here it is mentioned that it is a 4 character alphanumeric, right? So as per this SAP, whenever you see this, this denotes the numbers. Okay, so this, if you see a combination of numbers and alphabet, that means it's alphanumeric, right? So for the company code, maximum it can be a alphanumeric up to 4 characters. Now, what is the generic convention? How do you set up, in which scenarios, and like what should be the convention for a company code? So there is no right or wrong way in that, right? A company code can be named in different ways. So some companies, right? Let's say I give one example, maybe of Amazon, right? Right. So Amazon, maybe they have business in USA, then India, then Germany, for all this, right? Right. So now, if you want to, there are different options, right? So, for example, in USA, maybe it has three legal entities, right? In India, maybe it has 2 legal entities. Just giving an example. Germany also 2 legal entity, and Singapore maybe 1 legal entity. Okay. So how do you configure? First of all, we know what is the maximum length for a company code? 4, correct? We just seen that 4 character alphanumeric. So some companies, what they do is they use the country code, 2 characters. Say they will define this USA as maybe US 01. US 01, then 02 and 03, something like that. Or just some. So this is one naming convention that they can follow, right? So if they follow this, that means they need to follow it consistently for each region, right? So that there is some kind of consistency which is there in your system setup, right? So that means what we are doing is we are using the first 2 characters to denote the maybe the country code, right? And then the next 2 characters denote like which the legal entity 1 or the legal entity 2, right? Sometimes, so this is one example, let's say for the retail giant which has multiple legal entities in one. So this is one way, right? There can be also some entities, right? Let's say we are dealing with public hospitals in Singapore. For example, in Singapore there is maybe there are different hospitals, maybe some national university hospital, right? or maybe we have another uh, Changi General Hospital, something like that, right? So I put as SG01 for this, and we are dealing only with one country, and we are dealing with only with hospitals, right? It might be helpful if you denote this by the respective names, so that by just looking at the company code, you will know that for which entity are we talking about, correct? So the main important thing is it has to be within the length of 4 characters, and it has to follow a consistent naming. So whenever you work as a consultant, they ask you to come up with a template, right? So whenever you create work on it, let's say a rollout project or an implementation project, I will tell you about the different types of project in details also. Rollout means like you have a template which is created for one entity in US, and you will be rolling out the same configurations or maybe the same setup for regions also, under the same country or different countries also, right? So that means you need to prepare kind of a template, and you will just copy over the same templates across multiple places. So let's say we follow this approach. Maybe we follow this for Singapore, right? We have city. First, we follow a very basic approach over here. So let's do new entries. We follow. Now, how do you know whether this particular entity is available or not? Right? So you need to see whether the namespace is available. I want to create it with SG01, but since this is a test system, I don't know what are the namespace which are available, right? So I can see SG is not booked. These are your, so how did I go in here? So just either you can click F4 or you can just go double click on this particular magnifier button. So now I click SG, maybe yeah. So this is my company code name. Okay. Okay, so maybe take the industry that you are in at the moment. So which industry are you working on? Both of you, if I may ask.
Fashion industry.
Fashion industry. Apparels, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe apparel 1, I will just do. Maybe it's the first entity region. Okay. Singapore, the country and the state remains the same. And here you can see we mentioned, right, whenever you create a company code, you need to define in which currency that you will be drawing the reports for this company code. So that's why it is asking for the currency. So we mention it as STD. You also have language, which means like whenever you create any financial statements, you will have general ledger accounts, the descriptions, in which language the descriptions were printed. All those things are available. So, for example, for some countries in China, they have their GL accounts created in the Mandarin languages, and in Germany also German languages. So in many countries we follow the English language, right? In India, in Singapore, in US, UK, we follow this English language for all the financial statements, right? So let's say we put the language as EN over here. And entry exists with the same key. Okay, let me check. Not there. Weird. Okay. Okay, maybe there is a simultaneously there is somebody also who this system. So let let's try to, okay, let's say we try create as a 3-digit character SG1. I did not, I remove the 0 and I use this as my company code. Okay, and then I try to save this. Okay, so when I try to save, again it's asking for the company name, maybe one, two, three. But I will just put search term means like if you want to search for this company, like maybe you can have SG fashion, something like a short form for this company. You can put that in this, right? So now what I mentioned is it needs to follow some country regulations. So that's why you can see. So those fields against this red star mark, it means that these are mandatory fields. Other than that, I need not mention the city or the postal code. I can skip this and I can save my entry also, right? So let's see. Okay. So let me switch. Okay. So now you can see that okay. So I tried to create this company code, but it asked me to create something which is known as a transport request, right? I will come through these terms, right? Maybe at the 4th class, right? Once we create a list of requests, how do we move those across and which are the different clients? So at the moment, just can remember that whatever are the steps, the configuration steps that we are doing in the SAP SPRO IMG guide, those are known as custom. Customizing means you are trying to, you have the system which is there, you are trying to configure or customize as per your requirement this particular system. So and then I will also mention what are the different types of request. So I will mention maybe finance. So you try to use something which is through which you can recognize your work, right? For example, maybe you want to refer to this all the maybe configuration which we have done for your training. I can see under this particular customizing request, right? So in that way I'm defining it. You can also but the source client is the client where you are creating this request, right? And then where you will move this, right? So that is known as a target. What does these things mean? I will come through that in details maybe after the 4th class, where it will make more sense. Okay, so first I have created my company code, correct? So for this, what you can see is it's up to 4 characters. The currency is mandatory, right? And which other things are mandatory? Tell me. Apart from currency, were there any other field which was marked as star? This one, see, country, right? So we save this and then let's say we exit. Okay, now let's try to see. We go to SPRO again, right? And then you go through the same SAP reference IMG. So we'll do both ways. So we'll try to navigate using this flow path as well as the transaction codes, right? So do you remember which one? Enterprise structure, then definition financial accounting, right? Under financial accounting, we have defined a company code, which is here. So now you have already defined your company code, right? So let's say you want to edit some data, you can see, you can check if you can edit it here or not. So what was our company code? S1, right? So you can see SG1 Singapore Apparel, this has been created. If you want to go through the details of it, you can click here, this magnifier button. You can see that this is the name of the company and this is a short name. So it has 2 names, one is known as the short name and one is known as the long name. So this is your short name. So how do you know how many characters will fit in the short name? You need to just press F1. Okay, so once you press F1, right, it will take you to this particular screen. So then it will get you to this technical information which is here. So these are some kind of things which you need to note during the course of your training. So for example, you can see here the field name is BUTXT. So that means whatever you save as the company name, if you so the, at the outset, right, at the first entry screen, you can see the name of the field is company name, and the technical name is this BUTXT. How do I know what is the field which it can store? You it was named as BUTXT, right? So here, if you scroll on the right, you can see it stores how many characters? 25, right? Previously for the company code, how much was it? It is 4, right? And all these company codes are created under where? Under the client. If during your examination, right, um, it if there is a question that company codes are client specific or client independent, what will be your answer? Are they created in respective clients? Of the clients, the company codes are defined. So in the table, do you see client mentioned here?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
defined under the client.
So under the client, right? So as per the hierarchy structure, company code will come under the client, and company code represents your independent financial and legal entity, right? And this is your short name. To let's say have a longer name for your company here. Say so you can store a much longer description for your entity here. So it is not allowing me to type more than this, so that means up to 35 characters. And here if you want to put it here, it's also possible, or if you can also do it this way. Yeah. Here, yeah, last 5 characters is so that means it is just picking up what it is up to 40 characters we pick up, which is fine. So we save this. Okay, so now we have defined the company code. Now there is also something which is known as a company. So let's see what does this company mean, right? Right. So we have learned that under a client we have this company code. Now there is one more term which is known as company. Company means, right, these are used for consolidation purposes, right? So that means in my this example, I had mentioned that Amazon has 3 legal entities in US. In India, it has 2 legal entities, and Germany 2 legal entities, and Singapore 1 legal entity, right? So if I like these entities will be also trading amongst themselves, right? If for trading purposes, right, all these company codes, let's say which are in US, are grouped under or are consolidated under one company, right? So that means these are independent legal entities, but they can be grouped or consolidated under a consolidation node which is known as company. So this is not these are also known as internal trading partners, or most commonly referred to as company. Company means multiple company codes can be assigned to one company. Okay, so company is consolidating the company codes, right? So if you have this question, like maybe a multiple choice question, right? Which option is true, right? Multiple companies can be assigned to one company code, or multiple company codes can be assigned to one company. What will be the correct one?
Multiple company codes can
One
be
company.
assigned to one.
Yes, so that means company is the one which is kind of doing the consolidation. Very good.
Ajit, I have a question there. Now, in our current terms, we use something called a controlling area, which I think is similar to the company. Is there any, do we talk about the controlling area in the
Definitely.
organization structure, or is it replicated by the company, as you mentioned?
No, organization structure. Okay, so now what we are doing is we are only talking, right? Now, when we go to the controlling, what is the purpose of financial accounting? To prepare our external reports for the external reporting, right?
All right.
Is the purpose of controlling. Controlling is for your internal
Okay.
management purposes. So that
Comes
also,
under.
yeah. So when we go through, so today we will, let's say we define the units under your financial accounting. Tomorrow when we define, let's say for the controlling, that time we will see how we define a controlling.
All right.
But it is different from a company.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so let's define a company over here. So what is the purpose of the company? The purpose of the company is to consolidate company codes, right? So let's say, but here it can be 6 characters, up to 6 characters it can. Uh, so maybe I will put SG apparel industry over here. Okay. Here also you can see none of the fields are mandatory, right? But when I try to save, right, it will pop up something that currency does not match with your company code and all those things. Let's see what happens. So first it is asking me, so if the error comes in red, right, that means it is a error message. So that means it won't allow you to save without entering this field. Okay, and now you can save it. Even saving it, right, we have not saved any value for the currency field. So you will see when we assign the company code to the currency, there will be some kind of error. It will be a warning message kind of thing. Okay. So we save this. Now we go back. So what we have done is, till now we have defined our entity code which will be required for the financial reporting, which is our company code. And then what we did was we defined our company. Now we need to establish the relationship between a company code and a company. What did we understand in our earlier discussion? That you can assign company codes to the company, right? So let's go through the assignment. Now I will give one trick question for you. How will you know what is the transaction code to define a company? Right? You need to go to implementation act. You need to go to additional information and then display key IMG activity first, right? So it will display some like this information. Now tell me what is the transaction code to define a company by looking into the screen. Defining company code was OX02, right? So defining company is OX. Okay. So now how will you assign company codes to company? So you go to assignment, same thing. Now you should be able to tell me what is the transaction code to do this assignment. This is OX16. Yeah, very good. So we have created only one company code at the moment. So let's say SG1, and then we had created one only here also. We will also set up multiple later on, don't worry. So we have assigned. So here you see there is a warning message, right? Company currency on the company code currency. Why? Because for this company, we have not defined any currency yet, but for the company code, we have defined the currency as SG1. Generally, for any consolidation purpose, ultimately, what is your end goal? You are consolidating the financial statements, right? And any financial statements will deal with monetary transactions. That means you must define the currency. All those in anything, any of this units that you define, any of this organizational structure that you define, like just make sure that you define your currency also over there. So if I go to SGAPP, I define this as SGD. Okay, and I save it. Clear? So far, so good?
Yes.
Okay, so now I think starting when did the IFRS come in? I think the late since I think the IFRS had started. So most like I think the fundamental reason why the IFRS was introduced, right? So that at least there is a consistent accounting standard across different countries and which is followed by different institutions also, right? So that's why this particular governing body, right? So they set up. We would request most of like all the global companies which are operating in different geographies, so they need to follow the IFRS reporting standards, right? But when they were following IFRS reporting standards, one basic problem came through, right? So because when you have one company, right? Um, let's say we talk about Amazon first, and then we'll go to the Apple one also. From your experience, we'll try to check through how we can define the segments properly, right? So let's say Amazon deals with let's say it has a retail section, right? Then it also has let's say an entertainment section. Then it also has some shipment and then technology services, right? All these are different areas business, right? Or maybe segments of business which the company has, right? So what the problem that was happening is when they were trying to report all these things under the company code, right? Uh, in their controlling reports, they had that breakdown about okay, and like which is the segment which is performing better or which is kind of generating higher revenue and everything and but they as per the IFRS, right, they also need this breakdown as per the different segments. I think that was also specified the under the financial uh, consolidated IFRS 10, right? I guess under that they also required whenever you prepare any consolidated financial statements, you have to report as per the segments in which you operate, right? So this came as a generic this came as a requirement for all the businesses which wanted to follow this IFRS, right? So what uh, all these companies did was they created something which is known as segment. So what is a segment? A segment is a division of a company for which you can create the financial for external reporting. That means first comes your company code for which you are preparing on your all your financial statements. But even under your company code, you can have breakdown of the different divisions in which your company operates, right? For example, for your industry, right, for the apparel industry, right, can be different segments also, right? What can be maybe the ready-made clothes and custom made, right? Right. This is the correct division. Do you need to report this separately? Your financial statements, or maybe just linen materials which are sold of clothes. Okay, maybe we'll just consider three segments, right? So where do we define segments? So we go here, So you can see this differs from the others. So I think the code is not available accessible in the same way that we access the other T codes. So we can define segments through here. Let's say we define as okay. So it's okay. So these are three different lines of business. Like I'm just giving a hypothetical one because I don't have much experience around this particular segment of the industry, right? So I've just mentioned that okay, maybe you operate across three segments where you, when you prepare your financial statement, you need to tell that okay, so for this ready-made apparels, how, like what is the like how it is performing. Same way for the custom-made apparels also, you need to prepare independent balance sheet, profit and loss statement, everything, and same way for the linen materials, right? So I save this three segments. Okay.
Excuse me, segment is also a legal entity, right?
No, segments is not a legal entity. Segments
Is
is,
it a division?
it's a division kind of. It's a area of business kind of thing. So,
If it is not a legal entity, are we supposed to have a financial statement?
yes, actually, as per your IFRS 10, right? The rule for the consolidated financial statements, right? So let's say we have companies which operate across multiple verticals, right? Which means there are like especially for IT companies, right? Like let's say we take the example of Cognizant, right? So they need to report also the operating details for each of these verticals separately, right? And I think that reflected in their financial statement, right? As per this business area, what is they need to prepare individual financial statements or per all the segments which they have created. The segment is nothing but the business area or division which you have in a company and which are reflected in your external reporting. So this is different from division of the channel through which you do the sales, but it is a division under your external reporting that is specified. So you can open up any of the financial statements, right, which are like for entities which are following IFRS. You will see that all these kinds of the breakdown of the financial statements as per the divisions in which they operate. Maybe you can take anyone, like let's say Amazon also you can take, or maybe any of the airlines also you can take. And then you will find maybe the budget airlines, then the luxury airlines, all those things they need to report separately, right? So this is
Okay,
kind
thanks.
of, yeah. So this is kind of a division. So it is not a legal entity. So that means for my let's say in this example which I have tried to illustrate, right? For my ready-made clothes, I need not separate three legal entities for all this, right? But I need to prepare my in my financial statements. I need to prepare the output, right, as per all these three separate. Okay, so that's why we create segments. It also helps your like us to identify, right, which business is like which is growing like faster, which is underperforming, and all those things. So these are kind of when we go through all those profitability analysis reports, right, you, this segments plays a very important role when analyzing the business performance. Okay. So far, so good. I think we won't over well in the first class itself, right? So at least we have started with our organization structure. We have learned about that. Okay, so when you log in through the SAP system, to do a quick recap, right? What we have learned today is we have seen that we logged in through the client. So right, so each so that means whenever you log into this client, right, it represents individual set of data, tables, everything. For example, we have seen that company code is a client dependent data, right? The company code comes under the client, right? So, and what is the company code? It represents the independent legal entity for which you prepare your financial statement, right? And when you created a company code, it was a 4 character. You had to define the currency and also the country, right? And it is a minimum structure necessary to be defined in SAP Finance, right? So then after the company, what we did is, okay, so let's say if you are talking about consolidating multiple company codes into one, there is something which is known as a company, right? So this is different from the controlling area, which we'll be studying also in details when we go through the controlling section, right? So it is used for the consolidation purpose as mentioned over here, right? And also sometimes these are known as internal trading partners. For example, there are certain markups or certain trade regulations when you are trading your own entities in US and as well as India, right? Or maybe any other country. So then how does those internal trade relationship gets established, right? So maybe you will represent entity one with trading partner maybe A, and entity two with the trading partner B, and they can do interco sales or something like that. Reconciliations can be done also within these two companies, right? So then you assigned company codes to company, so that because what are we consolidating? We are consolidating company codes to a company. So that's why we assign company code to company over here. Now we also learned that, okay, maybe with IFRS, one more thing came into popularity, which is you also need to prepare your financial statements by the different divisions in which your companies operate, and that is known as your segments. Okay. All good so far. So I think we will end our class for today. And tomorrow,
Sorry, I have a question. Small one. Now, you said when we are defining the company codes, it has to be a 4-digit alphanumeric number. Is that a must or just like a standard? Because like we ended up creating the company code with just 3 digits, right? So
the
it's not
maximum,
mandatory, is it?
that is the maximum is 4 digits. So the
All
maximum
right.
can be 4 digits. You can create 1 digit, 2 digit, 3 digit, as well as 4 digit. So that is the
All
maximum.
right.
And what can
And
the combination
alphanumeric, yeah.
alphabets and numerals? Yeah.
That
Okay.
is that a must or that is also optional? We can go like in whatever the way we want.
You
In
can
the sense, can you?
you can create just alphabets. You can create just numerals, right? Or you can create a combination of alphabets and numerals.
It's not a must. No, it's just a
Yeah.
guideline.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's yeah. That's okay. So that's all that we'll cover today. We'll go. So I think we have covered about the financial structure that we have in FI, right? So I think we have Nadisha, Srikanti, and Madhava, right, in the training.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So tomorrow we'll again meet up at the same time. So which is 8 p.m. India time, 10:30 Singapore.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.